Hey everyone, Francesca from the Kilobits here, and this week I want to talk to you about eSports. Now, last weekend I was actually in Atlanta in America for the Smite World Championships, which is the first ever World Championships for my favorite MOBA, Smite, and had a real good time. It was absolutely amazing. My team came second, which was kind of disappointing, but also wasn't for them because they actually came out of nowhere. They were the underdogs, and for them to do so well is awesome. Anyway, because of this, I kind of was talking to a lot of people about esports who aren't necessarily into video gaming, and a lot of people don't seem to understand what it is. We've also had this huge debate going on online recently about whether or not esports is a sport, so I want to briefly touch on that. Now, esports is basically competitive video gaming. You have professional players who are very good at what they do, competing against other professional players for very large prize pools. There's a big fan base, there are sponsors, like it is big business. But people outside of video gaming don't seem to kind of understand that. They seem to look down on esports as some kind of fake sport, and tend to judge it as, you know, just kids playing video games or just teenagers playing video games and not really anything to care about, I guess. And I kind of want to talk about it because esports is growing and growing and growing, and in a couple of years it's going to be something that's incredibly mainstream. But because it is very much a new form of media in that if you want to watch it, you tend to use Twitch and other kind of streaming services rather than on, say, regular TV. People don't seem to get it, especially older generations. Now, so some of the stuff that people happen is they seem to think that, like I say, that it's just kids playing video games. It's not very difficult. There's no real skill to it. But often these people don't understand the games. Now, esports tends to take place in complicated games, MOBAs in particular, and MOBAs, for example, change throughout the year. The games get updated, they get balanced, they get new content coming out to encourage casual players into the game, and it isn't a static game in the same way traditional sports are. So for these players, they have to keep up to date with what is changing, what is going on, what is the best strategy, and the strategy is constantly changing. So there is a huge amount of mental work that goes into these kind of games. I mean, I understand that they're not sports in the traditional sense. I wouldn't say they are athletic sports, but at the same time, there is a lot of mental work going in. I don't necessarily think that esports and traditional sports should compete in the same tournaments. Like, I think if we had an Olympics, I don't think we should have video games in the Olympics, but we could have E-Olympics. Like, I think that they can be kept separate. And I'm not really that into watching sports. Like, I'll watch the Olympics every so often, maybe a game of football during the World Cup or whatnot, but I'm not a huge sports fan. And that's fine. That's fine. I don't question the talent of the players who play sports. They are definitely talented athletes. Nor do I belittle people who are into sports. If you're really into basketball or ice hockey or whatever, that's good for you. You know, enjoy what you do. But don't then belittle what I do because they use the word sports in the name, like esports. I mean, maybe esports isn't the best name for it, but at the same time, it's probably the closest term that we have for what it is, and it's something that I'm hugely passionate about. It's something that I get a lot of fun out of watching, rooting for my team in the same way that people who enjoy football do. It's not really any different. But I also think that people need to start taking esports more seriously. I wouldn't judge you if you went out and watched football. I don't judge you if you watch football every single week, but somehow if I keep up to date with what's happening in the Smite Professional League or the Smite World Championships or the Challengers Cup or whatever, suddenly I'm considered like some kind of weirdo. And I think video games have and definitely are mainstream now, and I think esports is then coming in as well. You need to realize that these games have huge followings and they bring people together. At Smite Worlds, I met so many lovely people and I made a whole bunch of friends, and it's the same at a sporting event. You go to a sporting event, you talk to everyone, you have this common interest, and it's a great way for people to get out, have fun, and socialize, and that's absolutely fine. And I think that people just need to kind of understand what esports are before judging them. I mean, video games have always had a bit of a stigma since I was a kid as something that like people did who were lazy, who had no life, who were antisocial. But video games aren't any of those things. Video game pros are rarely overweight or lazy. They put a lot of work and effort into what they do, and for other people to be belittling them because they're not, I don't know, running 100 meters in God knows how quick or whatever is kind of insulting, because just because you don't understand what is that they're doing doesn't mean that there isn't very complicated mechanics going on, and doesn't mean that these people aren't very talented. There was a BBC report once which was called What is Twitch? And in that they referred to esports competitors as semi-professional, referred to Twitch as a weed in the streaming community, and it was just a very kind of antiquated, belittling look at what is something that I'm very passionate about and a community that I'm very much involved in. Like, this is a huge part of my life, and I feel like if you haven't watched any esports, check it out. If there's a game that you maybe enjoy but you've never really watched the pro scene, start to maybe follow the teams. You don't necessarily have to watch all the games, but just check them out. And I do think there's something out there for everyone, depending on what genre of game you like, whether it's FPS, Smash Bros. Fighters, MOBAs, whatever. Just check it out, even card games. So that's just a little bit of a rant on esports and how, whilst it's not a traditional athletic sport, I would say that it is a e-sport in its own right. It's in the title, for God's sake. And just because you don't get it doesn't mean that it's not decent and legitimate, and you shouldn't really belittle it because it's something that I care about. I don't belittle your sports, you don't belittle mine, and we're good. Anyway, I've been Francesca. I'll see you guys next week in another video. Just wanted to get a little bit of a rant off my chest. Enjoy the rest of your day. If you have Twitter, check us out on Twitter at @thekilobits, and we have Facebook, facebook.com/thekilobits. See you later, guys.